Alright. It was definitely noticeable how much it's helping to start the day with the scapegoat recovery affirmations and the suggested internal responses to common critic attacks. Because we had to rush at about at like 1:15. We were like, oh yeah, the heating has like £1 left on it, and we need to go redeem the vouchers, which we're fucking lucky to have. Very grateful. Heating has been slaughtering us, even with the vouchers, so I can't even imagine without. Not going to, don't have to. Uh, Redeeming them. Like, yeah, engaging with people at all is like, it's not fun for me right now. So it generates like a little anxiety and a little hypervigilance and a little like physiological stress in the body anyway. And then we realized that like quarter past 12, there we go, that the post office closes at 1. It's like half an hour walk. So we kind of rushed there with the dogs, like rushed to get ready, rushed to get there. But it was interesting because I could learn how to rush and not feel like for me, rushing and danger and urgency and catastrophe are like kind of all the same thing. Like one will trigger the other. It's really difficult to work out how you even like rush and feel rushed to do something without it automatically meaning like, it's terrible if I don't do it, or like just the panic. Like even neurobiologically, rushing presses your psyche's panic button, is I think how it was worded. So like that is a thing. And yeah, it's not easy to separate it from danger. So this was kind of interesting as an experiment to do that. Ryan, as always, was very fucking helpful. And I was like, we probably want to rush quite a lot. And he was like, yeah, we probably do, but notice how little I care. I was like, in a very chill way, and was like, yeah, we'll rush and we'll try and make it there in time. But, if we get there and it's closed, it's just a nice dog walk, and we'll go do it another day. And like, it's not horrifying or life threatening, which is a very necessary reminder for me. We did make it there in time as well. So we do have heating now, which is cool because yeah, we got back and we were like, how much was on this? And it's like, oh, £1. Okay, that would have been fucked. But that was cool. I found myself repeating the suggested internal response to common critic attacks of time urgency. Like, I feel afraid, but I'm not in danger. I just rehearsed these as well. I just asked Ryan, I was just like, hold this book and help me study. And he was like, what shall I do if you get it wrong? Like, go wrong answer. And I was just like, yeah, good point. No, that would not be helpful. But maybe if you could just like gently give me the like what it says. So we went over it doing that, and I can almost remember the whole of the first one. And then from there onwards, I remember lines and bits and pieces, but all in a strange order. So sometimes my memory will get triggered and I'll go, oh, yep, and be able to like rattle off the whole sentence. And sometimes I'm just like, he's giving me hints word by word, and I'm like, no, you are basically telling me what it is, and I'm still completely blank on like what the next bit of the sentence is. But that was kind of fun, actually. Like it wasn't just even. It was kind of fun. It was sweet. I've never had like the kind of life where I've been like, help me study to somebody or needed that in any way. So that was kind of a nice experience, and I may get him to help me a few more times so that I can commit these things to memory. And that means I've gone over them in 2 different ways, twice today, which is cool. I'm at day 7 of repeating them every morning. It's getting easier. I was like, at first, I was kind of resistant about it at first. I felt kind of pressured and a little bit afraid, because for the first couple of days of doing it, my inner critic really went fucking batshit crazy when I started noticing it and fighting it, and I was like, oh my god, is this an extinction burst? Is this just gonna happen? Is it just gonna get worse and worse? Which luckily made me like, well, fuck you about it. So then I did kind of just keep going for it. It seems to have like leveled now. I wouldn't say it's still getting worse. I'd actually say it's getting easier to spot them. Hey, baby. Ooh, good girl. You're a good girl. I'd say it's getting easier to spot them, and a little easier to respond. Oh, I feel fucking drained today. I feel really tired. I don't feel like I'm getting proper sleep. That's one thing that sucks. Like, we've had trash dreams for, I think, like a solid week now, and like every fucking night, every fucking dream. And it's really exhausting, and I'm waking up feeling like very non-refreshed. Got a little pound dog ear thing happening. And it's sad. It's a pain. The dreams, not the ears. I'm really tired. I think Vince has had trash dreams for a while too. Different trash dreams, like the multiple benefits of sharing a body. We both get to have our own subsections of nightmares that are completely unconnected. Sometimes we share dreams, and that's the best. Sometimes sharing a body, and sometimes like with our own bodies, it's really cool actually. A while ago, he wrote down a dream he'd had, and when I was reading it, I was like, I know this dream. I was in this dream. I met you in this dream. But I had it from a different perspective, and like I didn't know what he was doing all the time that he wasn't around me in the dream. So it was really fucking interesting to like see that from 2 perspectives play out. That was cool. Not so cool when it's like, oh, here, you can both have nightmares all the time, constantly. I'm really tired. And I am finding it a little bit easier to be present despite the constant screaming in my head of time urgency and perfectionism. Probably the main things I'm getting, and unfavorable comparisons to others or to my most perfect moments. And like, those are probably the ones that are hitting me the most often and the hardest, and then that triggers like a whole range of very genuine grief for the whole like, oh, I haven't really had a lot of experiences in life that most people would have had, and like I am grieving and trying not to wonder, trying to just grieve that that those things were missed out on, instead of being like, where could I be now if I'd done this, if I'd been able to. But I mean, it is fucked, because like, coming into your life and only just being able to like actually think and exist in my life and in my body, and actually feel my fucking emotions, and actually feel whole and not just reacting in a state where I'm trying to survive, means that I can make very different decisions. I didn't have that growing up. Stuff just happened to me, and I didn't have a lot of control over it. So I never practiced hobbies apart from art. and behavior and psychology. I'm really glad we did those. But the time urgency one triggers a fuck ton of very real grief for very real losses that we've had, and yeah, I feel tired. Like, barely really. It's not that we're like not grieving for our family, like cutting off contact with them and all of their behaviors that have forced us to do so. But it's like I'm still in the phase of like shock and rage and betrayal, and I don't feel like anytime I get grief for even a second, it just kind of goes numb because there's so much that goes to it. And there's so much more than just grief there. And there's so much injustice and rage and abandonment and betrayal. And like so many of the symptoms that we're struggling with now, so many of the things that affect us really intensively and in a debilitating way are so much to do with, like, it's their fault. Not everything, because some is abusers' faults, but even then, why the fuck were we just pawned off to abusers all the time? Yeah? Oh, okay. Our family didn't protect us when they should have fucking protected us. And even now, they void accountability and responsibility for it. They refuse to look at it on any kind of a deep level, to examine their actions and their part in it. It's one of the reasons we had to cut off contact, but it's like, I guess we are grieving. I guess rage is like a natural part of grief, especially in this situation. I think rage is probably a healthy experience of grief for this, because a lot of it is like rage and grief about how they acted, how they didn't act, how they were still acting, instead of it being like, oh, I miss our family, which we do have parts of us that sometimes get hit with that for a second. But it's like, that feeling isn't new. Like, I feel like I've been experiencing the feeling of loss and missing our family since we were fucking kids around our family, because we were just so fucking invisible to them, in rejected and exiled in so many parts of us, and at so many moments that were critical, and betrayed in so many fucking ways when we needed to be protected, that it's like, there's only a few parts of us that ever felt supported anyway. And if you have to abandon so many parts of yourself and change who you are for that level of acceptance, and you know that you're still not going to be protected when it comes to dangerous situations, and that you're still going to be rejected for the sake of your abuser's comfort, reliably and repeatedly, then it's like, what fucking family is there to miss for most of us? When they just acted like family when it was convenient for them, and then would look horrified at hearing complaints like this, even though they're valid fucking objections to our treatment. Like, I think it's hard to grieve the missing them and the abandonment when most parts of us have spent our whole fucking lives abandoned by them, and like it's not new. If anything, it's a relief for most parts of us now that it's like accepted as reality, instead of having so many parts of us refuse or be unable to accept it and keep believing the words on the face of things, of them being like in total support of us, and things that they'd say but never take into action. So it's more real now, feels less convoluted. It's just all out in the open, instead of it being something that some parts of us bury deep inside. There's a lot of shock, especially because like what we grew up as normal was either like, well, this is a fucking lie, or that was as good as it got, so we didn't know what we were missing. And now, like, experiencing so many people around us who are safe and do protect us and do communicate in an authentic way with no like undercurrent. It's like it's a lot easier to see what things should have been like, and to now be like, oh, this is what we were missing, which I guess it's really hard to grieve for what you didn't even know was there or wasn't there. Like, there was no fucking comparison, so we're still kind of figuring out and even learning what parts weren't supposed to be like that and what it was supposed to be like instead, before we can even fucking grieve it.